What's up, guys? Look what's out today. The new Emax Nanohawk in the house. And let's get this one started and let's dive into this review. Well, we're gonna do a bunch of things in this review because you know me and Emax, I've got to have some fun with whatever they come out with. And today I'm going to give you some tips for yours if you decide to upgrade it. Of course, we're gonna do a little bit of that in this video. We're gonna weigh it, we're gonna fly it. We're going to try some different props. We're going to start out with these props that come with it in the box. These are 1201-4 Avia Nanohawk props. So they are new design props for the Nanohawk, which is kind of cool. We're also going to try out some regular old, I believe these are just like Eachine tri-blade props. And I think these might actually give us, maybe it might even be a little bit faster. We'll see how both of these do. These might draw more amps out of the battery and just maybe give you more boost, but they might give you maybe 20 seconds less flight time. But we'll test that out and we'll see. I'm also going to fly it today on my Radio Master TX12 because this is brand new and just came out, and I kind of think this is kind of like the ultimate pairing here. It is much smaller than my TX16S, which I have sitting right over here. Oh, I'm destroying stuff, but look at the difference there. Pretty big difference. So if you're looking for something more compact than the T16S here, the TX12, it's a pretty good price too. And it has OpenTX on here, and I know this is not a review of that, but I'll do a full review on this one coming up. It also takes an 18650 Lion pack underneath here, so cool. I have those charging and we'll be all ready to go for the review. And also in the box you do get a 1S 300 milliamp battery, and it does have that new connector on here. I've seen these before with my Eachine whoops that I've flown for you guys in previous reviews. I believe it was the AE65 that came with it. So this is like Emax's version of an AE65. It has a new flight controller on here from Emax. It's an F4 all-in-one ESC, 5 amp ESC setup on here with the SPI receiver, and it's just all one board, and look at that, it does look a little bit different than what we've seen before. Now normally with an SPI built-in FR Sky receiver you have a button somewhere on the bottom just under where the antenna is, but this is our antenna right here, and it's already come out of the canopy and sort of getting close to the props right there. So that's one thing you want to be careful about. These SPI receivers, they don't have the best range. So that's the, if you want to upgrade to an XM Plus, you could do that with this flight controller. It will accept an external S-Bus receiver. I've already got tons of hair in here, but we also have a little 2mm cute carbon fiber frame on the bottom of this, 2 rubber bands to hold down your battery. We've got our battery connector here, and my suggestion would be to take a little tiny zip tie and tie that off to the frame, because honestly that will break off your ESCs if you have a pretty bad crash or you tug on this too much. So make sure you hold these batteries right at the connector when you're plugging them in and taking them apart. If you pull on this part of the wire at all, these will come right off this battery. These are super tight connections here, so you want to be careful with those. Now also in the box you get a 6-in-1 charger, and it does not have that connector on there, so you have to use the 2 adapters that came along with it, but sadly they don't give you 6 because that's how many batteries you could be charging for this if you had 4 more of these. So it's not super cool that you can only charge 2 batteries at once, but hey, you only get 1 battery in the box, right? So as a reviewer, I was hoping to get a few more of these, because if I hadn't had these other Eachine 250 milliamp batteries laying around, that would have been kind of inconvenient. But the good news is, guys, that I'm getting like close to 6 minutes flight time on a 250, so I think you're going to be able to squeak out maybe 6.5 to 7 minutes on this 300 milliamp battery. And we'll do some just testing indoors. We're going to test out the VTX as well, because I know a lot of you guys are pretty turned off by the VTX, and that tends to be the issue with these smaller whoops, 65mm frame on this little guy with the prop guards on the outside. The prop guards are a little bit flimsy, but the VTX is mounted just above the flight controller right here, and it does have, I believe it has 3 positions that it's sort of soldered down to here in the flight controller, and I'm going to do my best to remove that. This is also rocking some smart audio, which it was enabling me to change bands and channels, but not the power source. So that's one thing about that. We also have the Runcam 3 Nano in here. It's very, very lightweight, probably only a couple grams, maybe even just 1.5 grams, a very lightweight camera. 3 wires coming off that down to the flight controller, or possibly soldered directly to the VTX. I don't know, I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna pop this and find out how they have that all soldered up. Now, as far as the motors are concerned, the motors are 0802 version 2. So these are Emax branded motors. They're 19,000 kV, but mine, being a prototype, does not have any type of marking on them at all, but they look pretty nice. They have 2 bolts on the bottom, and those are little tiny screws, by the way. They're Phillips head screws, matches up with these on the bottom of the frame. So really all you need to take this baby apart is a little miniature screwdriver that comes along in the kit. You also get an extra rubber band, some dampeners in case they fall on the floor. They tend to get lost sometimes, and some extra screws. And you get an extra set of props in the box, which is kind of cool. But I'm interested to try out the Zeus Nano on this little guy, because guess what? Even though this will kind of stick out on the sides, it will fit inside here. It might affect my flight performance, or my possibly my flight time on here, possibly cutting out some of the flight time because of the higher milliwatt that this needs. It sucks a little more battery out of it, but we'll see how much it actually affects the battery on 200 milliwatt. I'm really interested to wire this up, and we're just going to cram this in there underneath this canopy. They do make some smaller Nano VTXs that you can get, but I can lay that fairly flat in here. Once I remove that other VTX here from the board, you're just going to kind of lightly touch your soldering iron to each section on that VTX, and hopefully it just pops off. We'll see about that. And this would be a little taller setup for this particular quad, and probably give it a lot more range as far as 25 milliwatt versus 200. And the Nano actually goes all the way up to 350 milliwatt. So I'm not sure what kind of flight time you're going to get when you're pumping 350, but it also comes with an extra additional sort of larger right-hand circular polarized antenna. This looks like a female SMA connector for like a 3 or 5 inch quad, which is kind of nice, and you get some extra wires with that. But I'll put a link down below to the new Zeus from HGLRC so you guys can check that out. The other thing I'm going to recommend for this quad is go buy yourself this particular charger. Now I'm going to unplug it here for a second, because I want to show you that this one already has these connectors that you guys need. It charges 6 of them up at once, or it does the PH 2.0 connector, which is this little one here. And it has 2 switches on each terminal. So the nice thing about that is you can switch it from your HV battery or regular standard LiPo. So pretty cool. This one just plugs in there, and you don't have to have any kind of adapter or screw around with these. So that's kind of a nice option. And I believe these are under $10. They also have an option for an AC wall adapter, which I'll try to put down there as well. Once you have that, you just plug it in, or you can use a 4S 1300 if you have 5 inch quads, and charge from that as well when you're out in the field. So portable or a bench charger, these things are really awesome. You can also charge your device from this USB port at 2 amp, and it has a digital display here for each channel. It just kind of loops around, and it also shows you the voltage of your current power source, which is nice. But I highly recommend these. These are probably some of the best Whoop Friend out there. They're really awesome. And I got to get my batteries back on the charger here, and we'll do some flying. So now he's on the scale, and he weighs 20.6 grams without the 1S300. Let's go ahead and put the 1S300 on there. 29.3 grams total takeoff weight. That's really good. I used to build these back in the day and try to get them down to 20 grams without the battery, and I gotta say that this is quite an accomplishment right now, because this is VTX and everything on here is a great weight, because I was doing them custom brushed back in the day, and some of the rack and heli frames, they're super lightweight, aluminum / carbon, and it was still hard to get it down to 20.5 grams or 20 grams even. So with brushless motors, I think they've done a good job doing that. So the weight of the Eachine 250, I know you guys probably want to see that. That's going to get you 27.9 grams. That's not bad. And let's just go ahead and put the stock battery back on there. And just for fun, let's throw on the Zeus as well, and that'll get you up to 31.7 grams. And the Zeus by itself, let's see what that weighs. 2.1 grams, 2.3. So it is a little larger than some of the other Nano VTXs out there. You don't need all these extra standoff mounts out here. These are for putting on different size mounts. I believe you have a 16 millimeter mount here, 20, and I believe it was like 20.5 or something like that on that far outside one. But pretty nice big tabs to solder up to. So let's go ahead and plug in a battery, you guys, and let's do some flying with this little Nanohawk and see what this little guy is all about. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I think that the 25 milliwatt is subpar as always. Everybody complains about 25. But I'm hoping to sort of remedy that with a quick upgrade. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop the top and do that for you guys, and you guys enjoy the flight video, and after that we'll come back and give you my final comments on Emax's new Nanohawk. Here we go, guys. Let's do some flying together. So this is what you have to do to get the Nanohawk apart, and it's kind of a pain because you have to remove the motors from the frame and everything, and the frame from the flight controller, soldered on motor wires here, no plug and play motors on this little guy. You also have a spot for your Spectrum 3-volt tab that is right there on the left, and an R2 tab, which is nice, and you have the boot button as well as a 5-volt camera tab here, and it looks like they have a couple diodes there and a video in for the Runcam Nano 3. We have R1 and T1 there on the flight controller as well. And you guys looking for the XM Plus setup, that's the S-Bus tab right there for that. If you want to solder that external RX up. The motors are numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4 there. And it looks like they had it kind of switched around, but let's check out the video. The smart audio up top on that stem there. Once you remove the VTX that's on there, positive, negative here, and I'll show you that VTX upgrade in a second. If you remove yours, this is what you need to do for the VTX upgrade. This is 5-volt ground right here, and the video and the smart audio cable there. So that is the VTX removed, and it was a pain to remove it, but now I have my Zeus pin out here for you as well. We have ground, 5-volt, video, and RX there for that. And now let's plug in a battery and see if it fires up. Yes, yes, it works. Now let's check the video. The video is working, so now it's time to do the rock out. Upgrade complete. We are done. Let's go do some flying, you guys. Here we go. All right, guys, let's go ahead and finalize this review. Let me give you the most important information about the Nanohawk for my entire review. So my experimentation today with the 350 milliwatt VTX did not work out because it was so much power draw from the battery that it was literally tanking the battery within about 30 seconds on 350. So you can get away with probably 100 milliwatt, which that VTX will crank up to, and you can go 200 milliwatt, and it's probably going to give you at half the flight time. So that is the challenge with a 65 millimeter whoop at this size on 1S battery that most of these companies have. Now, I've flown most all of the popular 65 millimeter whoops out there, so I can give you a really educated opinion on which one I think is the best according to my top 5. Now, some people get hard on me when I tell them what's the best. Oh, you say everything's the best. Well, I've flown everything, most everything that's popular out there. I've flown most of this stuff, so I have a great idea about what is the best. And according to how the components hold up, the quality control, my level of fun, the tune, the durability, all those different factors that we talk about in these reviews are the reason that I come up with my best of videos and my shootouts and all that stuff. So you guys can, take that with a grain of salt. Some of you don't care to hear that, but it is what it is. And yeah, it's just my opinion. So the 65 millimeter whoop, the Nano from Emax, is great. I feel like the 25 milliwatt VTX, it needs improvement. It's not very good at penetration. I didn't make it around the house. With other quads out there in the 65 millimeter format running 100 milliwatt, I'm able to get around the house, and just barely. I mean, it's not great, but it has enough penetration to make it around the house and back. Now, the SPI receiver is not going to get you very far out there either. It's going to get you maybe at the max a couple football fields away, and even closer in if you're running behind trees and things like that with this quad. So you will fail safe to the ground. So that's not the end of the world, but you don't have as much range as if you decide to wire up your XM Plus. And I showed you guys where the tabs for that are on the flight controller, and that you can go back and look at that as well. There's actually marked S buses, but it's also a little bit quirky to take this one apart because unfortunately to get to the flight controller itself, you have to take all the motors off and everything off the bottom of the frame, quite a few screws. So that's the other caveat about this one. And in my top 5, I gotta say, I have it all written down here for you. And I've gone through these reviews this year, and I wanna share this information with you guys. So the Nanohawk is being released today, and hopefully it'll be a decent price for you guys, around $100 or less. I'm hoping it's around 80 or so, because I think that would be a pretty good deal for this quad. And still, at this point when I'm making the review, I don't even know what the price is yet, but my top 5 right now, as it stands, with my experience flying all of these, is the UZ65 with the Nano 3 is cranking 100 milliwatt, and that one's $90. So I think that one's probably the best value. It has probably a more durable frame than this one. This one is a little bit flexy, and if you bang it pretty hard, it will flex in and start hitting the props. The other thing is that the good thing about this is that none of these struts broke, so the frame is actually really durable. So that would be my first pick. Second pick would be the iFlight Alpha 6.5, and that one's also running a 50 milliwatt, half of that one, and that one's $102. So that one's a little more expensive, but also this one was a little bit heavier than the UZ65. So my third choice would be the Nanohawk, and that one's running 25 milliwatt, and that one came in before the AE65. Because this one's a little bit lighter than the AE65. So that's my choice there if you're looking to get Emax. So and that one's the same, 25 milliwatt, 25 milliwatt. That one has the Cadex Ant, which might be a little bit better camera than the Runcam 3, which is the Nano 3, which is on this one. And then in 5th place is Happy Model Mobula 6.5, and that one's running the Nano 3 with 25 milliwatt at the bottom of the pile at $94, almost $95. So I think the UZ65 Nano with the Nano 3 and 100 is probably the best deal out there. Again, the Alpha flew pretty good for me, and they're still be able to crank 50 milliwatt, but I'm not sure why Emax decided to go with 25 milliwatt. I wish I would have seen 50 or 100 on here, because hey, it's late 2020 and we're expecting a little more milliwatt on our whoops these days. However, Emax is the type of company that wants to make things plug and play and easiest for the user. And I have to say that the flight time on this quad was fantastic. So, you know, even though this quad might have just 25 milliwatt on it, it might probably end up at the end of the day getting the longest flight time because it is lighter than the AE65 with 25 milliwatt. So yeah, there's that. So Emax might be the winner as far as the flight time, because I did notice that in my review of this and flying this all day long, just back to back to back to back batteries with this charger, that I was getting close to 6 minutes, even, you know, with the stock 300 and 250 batteries. So they're the clear winner as far as flight time. So if you want ones you can fly around the house, that's particularly an indoor whoop, that would be my top choice for indoor. If you want one that's indoor outdoor with a little better range on the video transmitter, the UZ65 is the one to go for. But that's my review in a nutshell, guys. If you are a beginner, pick up one of these TX12s because it's super awesome. It's under $100, and this one's just coming out as well. I'm going to do a full review on that coming up. It also has multi-protocol in here. It will do any receiver under the sun out there on the internet. If you buy any toy drone out there, it'll bind up just about. It'll do HubSAN, Spectrum, it'll do FlySky, Futaba, and even if you want to do some TBS Crossfire, you have a module bay back here to do that too. And it takes 18650 batteries, guys. Super compact and quite a bit smaller than the full-size transmitter, and perfect for the Nanohawk in my opinion. And my next biggest thing for you guys to get would be this from Eachine, the 6-in-1 charger that has all kinds of options on here. And pick up some of these batteries. I'll put the links down below for this charger and these batteries because they do have that connector on here you guys need. That's the ET 2.0 connector that goes along with the Nanohawk as well as the UZ65, I believe. So either which way you go, guys, thanks again for watching my reviews and all the honest information right here on the channel. Please do subscribe down below. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care and be safe.